Hello everybody, Rage Quitting here. Welcome to the beginner's guide on how to play Dagger Dagger Thief. There are many different ways that you can spec for Dagger Dagger with your utilities and your trait lines, but I'm going to be showing you the main ways that I do it. Okay, and I'll be going through in depth the weapon set itself and some of the cool things that you can do with Dagger Dagger. So I hope you guys enjoy the video, and let's get started. Okay, so as far as the weapon set itself, we'll go through over the abilities real quick. So your auto attack, your 1, is a chain of attacks, but the main source of damage you want to be using from this is your backstab. Okay, when you enter stealth, it changes to backstab. Okay. This is your main heavy hitting ability that you're going to be using with Dagger Dagger all the time, as much as you can. Okay? It does have a 1-second internal cooldown on it though, so let's say you go into stealth and you miss your backstab, you know, like this, you know, see how the cooldown ran out before my stealth, you know, duration. So if you happen to miss a backstab, you're not going to have a lot of chance to hit another one in the time that it takes for your stealth to run out, okay? Because every time you gain stealth from Cloak and Dagger, it's only for 3 seconds, okay? It could be 4 seconds if you spec into Shadow Arts, but that's not what we're doing here, okay? So yeah, so just keep that in mind. If you miss a backstab, you know, you're not going to have a lot of time to land another one, so you're going to have to try and get into stealth again to do a backstab. Okay. Your next ability, Heartseeker, is a leap. Okay, looks like this. Okay. It's a good gap closer. It's a good way to rotate around the map. Okay, because you can cover a lot of ground with it, like this. Okay. But mainly it's used as a gap closer when you're fighting. Okay, and the more damage that the target took. Okay, so the less life the target has, the more damage this ability does. Okay, so look, you can spam it as a finisher. See on that crit, it did more than the previous one because the target is lower health, right? So okay, the first one did 4, the next one did 6. Okay, so the lower health the target is, the more damage it deals. So this is a good way to finish people off. Okay, your next one is a Death Blossom. It's a evade and an attack at the same time. So if you have something targeted, it looks like this. I wouldn't be trying to use this skill for the damage, because the damage is pretty weak. Okay, it's mainly for evades. So as you're fighting and you're expecting your opponent to do something to you, then you can evade it by doing that. And then, you know, the fact that it deals damage is just a bonus. It does, you know, and it has some bleeding on there too. Okay. Next is Dancing Dagger. It's a ranged ability. You throw a dagger on them, it slows them down, and it puts torment on them. Okay, so like this, right? Looks like this. And it can bounce up to 3 targets. Okay. So that's pretty cool. By the way, I'm showing you guys power builds. Okay, I don't play condition builds, but I've seen a Dagger Dagger condition build because you know, it has bleeding and torment on it. But that's beside the point. Okay, and then lastly is your steal. Okay, this is your main ability for Thief, because it has a 1200 range on it. This is like your gap closer, your way to steal. Depending on what class you're stealing from, you get a stolen ability. Okay. I'm not gonna go too much into the stolen abilities right now, but yeah, different classes grant different abilities when you steal on them. Okay, and this is gonna be your main way to land Cloak and Daggers on people. Okay, because I mean, you can land it, you know, by fighting them. You dash up and you can land a Cloak and Dagger, or whatever you're fighting. You do an evade and then you Cloak and Dagger, backstab, or whatever. Okay, but the safest way and most effective way is to do it from range, because then you're not going to get caught in whatever they have to deal onto you, right? So to practice this, you want to hit Cloak and Dagger first, and then hit Steal, okay? And that'll set you up in stealth for a nice backstab, okay? So that kind of looks like this. Okay? Now let's talk about being in stealth and dealing damage, right? So once you've dealt damage from stealth, you're gonna gain a debuff called Revealed. Okay, so what that is it means you can't go back into stealth immediately for 3 seconds. Okay, so I'll show you here. Cloak and Dagger. Okay, backstab, and you see this debuff here says Revealed. You cannot stealth. Okay. So just keep that in mind. So that means you can't just Cloak and Dagger backstab, Cloak and Dagger backstab, right? You have to wait a little bit before you can do it again. Okay, and then a little trick, if you want to stay in stealth, let's say you miss your backstab and you need to do another one, right? Then just do another Cloak and Dagger when you come out of stealth, or as you're coming out of stealth. Okay, so it kind of looks like this. Okay, you can keep doing it, but you have to time it right. Okay, as soon as you anticipate the buff going away, then you can do another Cloak and Dagger, and you can stay in stealth. Okay, but it's easy to do on something that's not moving, right? But in combat with a player, it's harder to do. Okay, so that's Steal. Okay, you can also combo Heartseeker with Steal, or let's say you're already in stealth and you want to do a Steal backstab. You can do that as well, right? So let's say I use my blinding powder here. Okay, so now my backstab is ready. Then you can backstab Steal. Okay, kind of like that. Okay, you can combo any of your skills with Steal, but you're not going to get as much use out of it with, you know, if you use Death Blossom or Dancing Dagger. But definitely you're going to be doing it with Cloak and Dagger all the time, so you can do a backstab. Or let's say you're already in stealth, you can do a backstab Steal. And then Heartseeker, you can also do it with Heartseeker, right? So it looks like this. Like that. Especially if the target's low, because the lower health the target is, the more damage Heartseeker does, right? So it's a really good, you know, doing Heartseeker from a distance and then being able to land right on top of them with some good burst damage. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about specializations and traits. Okay, so the way I play it, I always 100% keep Daredevil and Trickery at all times. The Trickery trait line, mainly because of Sleight of Hand. Okay, this is the recharge cooldown on your Steal. Okay, reduces the charge on Steal by 20% to make it a 20-second cooldown. Okay, which is very important because this is your bread and butter, right? Cloak and Dagger, Steal, backstab is the way that you're trying to kill people. Okay, because that's the thing with Dagger Dagger. Okay, and then with the Daredevil trait line, the dashes, always using dash. Okay, it removes conditions. It you know, I mean, movement impairing conditions. It gives you swiftness, and with the Daredevil trait line, you have 3 dashes, 3 dodges, right? So it's very good. Good for moving in on people, so you can fight them. You know, trying to, you know, you can dash in and try to land a Cloak and Dagger backstab, or for running away, right? If you have to, you know, you can easily just dip out at any point in time. Okay. And that's why also in your offhand you should always be using short bow. Okay, because short bow, the utility is too good to not use. Okay, you can port around the map. Okay, your 3 skill has evades on it. You know, so you slow them, you hit them with an arrow that cripples them, and you can do some evade backwards. Okay. So let's say I'm fighting, blah blah blah. All of a sudden, things go bad, and I have to get out. You know, then I can just dash, 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 swap to short bow, and then do some short bow skills and get away from the fight very very easily. Okay, you never want to stay in a fight, or you never want to fight to the death, basically, right? With Dagger Dagger, or with Thief in general, if you choose to slip away from a fight, you can. Okay, and you should. Okay, there's no point in staying and dying when you don't have to. There's other things that you can be doing instead of being dead. Okay, so that's why. Okay, so Trickery and Daredevil is always a must, mainly for these last two traits here. In Trickery, this almost never changes. I always take Thrill of the Crime and Bountiful Theft. Thrill of the Crime, when you land your steel, it buffs you with Fury, Might, and Swiftness, and it also gives it to your allies. Okay, if they're within the radius. And then Bountiful Theft, steal. Upon stealing from an enemy, you steal 3 boons. You gain endurance regen for 10 seconds, and it also gives those boons to your allies if they're within the radius. So, as you notice, Trickery, trait line, everything revolves around steal, right? So steal is very important. Okay, you need to be able to land steals, or else you're not going to be very good. Okay, if you can't land cloak and daggers, if you can't land steals and you can't land backstabs, then this weapon set is going to be very hard to play. So those are the 3 main things that need to be practiced. Okay, and then in the Daredevil trait line, I take all the damaging traits because I like damage. Okay, so Havoc Mastery, deal increased damage to enemies within the range threshold, and then Pulmonary Impact. When you interrupt an opponent, they'll take a passive hit. Okay, that's unblockable. Okay, and every time you steal, you interrupt them because of this trait here. Okay, steal dazes. Okay, so if they're in the middle of doing anything and you daze them, then you interrupted them, and then they're going to take additional damage from Pulmonary Impact. So these 2 traits I always keep. Okay, and then the top one here, Deadly Arts, it's either between Deadly Arts or Crit Strikes for me personally. Okay, and the Deadly Arts is very good because it just has more buffs to your steal. Okay, because of Mug. Okay, so now whenever you steal, you'll deal damage and gain life when stealing. And then for Executioner, increase damage when your target is below the health threshold here. Okay, and then Panic Strike, hitting a foe who's under 50% health threshold will poison them and immobilize them. Okay, so that's very good for locking down a target that you're trying to get the finishing blow on. Okay, this is what I run. And if you look at your steal, from that setup, you have all this going on your steal. Okay, Poison, Daze, Fury, Might, Swiftness, Vigor. You gain initiative. All these things. It's really nice. Okay, but if I'm not running Deadly Arts, then I run Crit Strikes for my one-shot build. Is with Crit Strikes. I've done one-shots with Deadly Arts as well. But with Deadly Arts, I mean, the highest I've got while running these Signets as well is maybe like 12k, 13k. But when I run with Crit Strikes, I can get up to 18k backstabs. Or so far, I've recorded an 18k backstab with Crit Strikes. Okay, and that's with Twin Fangs, Practice Tolerance, and Hidden Killer. Okay, Twin Fangs increase critical damage when your health is above 90%. You gain Ferocity based on your precision, and then Hidden Killer, 100% crit chance from stealth. Right. So with this setup, I run Scholar Rune and also Valkyrie Amulet. Okay. Valkyrie Amulet gives a lot of power and a lot of ferocity, and it gives some vitality. So I'm pretty healthy with 20k health here. You don't have any crit chance, right? But that doesn't matter because your main source of damage is your backstab, right? Your stealth attack, and hidden killer makes it so that your backstab will auto crit. Okay, and that's all the damage you need is just your backstab. Like this build is meant for one backstab, one kill. Okay, and it does it very well. Okay, I'll roll some clips here to show you this build and you know, all the one shots that I do with it. I also already have a montage on YouTube called the Dagger Dagger, the Crit Devil build, right? Crit Devil build, yeah, like it. Okay, so anyway, that's the setup I use for crit strikes. But if I'm doing that, I have to run Assassin Signet and Signet of Shadows at the same time. Okay, because Signet of Shadows, you put it on the enemy and they take mainly for the 10% more damage that they take for 5 seconds, okay, along with gaining 540 power on activation. It gives you a lot of power. And then Cloak and Dagger backstab, and then you hit a huge backstab on the target. But if I'm not running the one-shot build and I would need like a little bit more utility, a little bit more survivability, then I go with either Roll for Initiative and Signet of Agility. Okay, and then I would change this back to Deadly Arts, and then change this back to Marauder Amulet. And then the runes, you can either use Rune of Scholar, Rune of the Pack, or Eagle runes. Okay, I personally like Rune of the Pack because of the increased precision and then the swiftness duration, right? Because every time you use dash dodge from the Daredevil trait line, it gives you swiftness. When you have Rune of the Pack, it just increases the duration on swiftness, so you can be more mobile. Okay. See here, so swiftness is lasting for a good bit. Okay, and then with this setup here, with Withdraw, Roll for Initiative, and Signet of Agility, this setup is very good for being really elusive, very evasive, okay, because no matter what class you're fighting against, you can dodge a lot of their abilities by pretty much just spamming dodges. Okay, it's actually kind of ridiculous. Here, I'll show you right now. Okay, so you can do like your Death Blossom. You can do this a lot. You can do your dashes, dash again. You can do your roll. You can do another roll. You can dash some more. Okay, and then let's say you hit your Signet, then you can do another dash here, another dash here. Then you can do more Death Blossom. Right? It's actually kind of ridiculous how much you can evade, and you'd be you'd be surprised how much people blow all of their cooldowns trying to hit you when you're dodging, and then you can just fight them. Right? It's actually pretty ridiculous. But this build works especially well against enemy thieves, right? Because a thief's main cooldown that they want to make sure that they land is steal, right? Stealing buffs them. It deals damage to you. It allows them to take your stolen ability, right? So if they land a steal on you and you miss one on them, they have an advantage over you, right? But if you're dodging like mad crazy because you know they're about to steal on you and then they miss it, then you now have an advantage over them, right? Because they missed their steal and you still have yours. Okay, so this setup is very good for that. Okay, roll for initiative is evade. It's a stun breaker. It's a rollback, and it gives you back initiative that you used. Right, so that's why this skill is very good. Let's say you're low on initiative from spamming your dodges, right, or whatever it is you're fighting. Okay, and you need some initiative back, boom, roll for initiative. Okay. Stun break, evade, and initiative gain. So this is a very, very good, very strong utility. Okay. Another one is the Signet of Agility. Okay. Passively grants increased precision. So if you look here, increased precision gain from here. And then upon usage, it restores some endurance, and it cleanses 3 conditions. Okay, so this is very, very strong in itself too, right? Because it does so many different things. Okay, you'll see a pattern here with the utilities that I use is utilities that are very useful in many different situations. Okay, so Signet of Agility. Okay, what I always keep is Withdraw, Shadow Step, and Basilisk Venom. And then these two here I switch between however I feel like playing. But Withdraw is a must-have for Dagger Dagger because it's an instant heal, right? It doesn't channel like some of the other ones do. It's an evade, it's a rollback, and it cures some movement, impairing conditions, and torment, right? Very, very useful. Okay, so always keep Withdraw. Okay, Shadow Step. I'll talk about Shadow Step later because there's a lot of things you can do with Shadow Step. Okay, but basically it's a stun break on its first use. That breaks a stun, and then on the second use, when you port back, it also breaks another stun. Okay, and it cleanses 3 conditions. And it has a really long range, and you can use it for many different things, but I'll show you that later. And then Basilisk Venom is a must as well. Okay, especially with this build. Okay, your attacks are unblockable and turns foes into stone. Okay, which means when you're gonna do your Cloak and Dagger backstab combo, unless they're evading, they are forced to eat it. Okay, they will eat the combo. Okay, unless they're evading. So that's very good for your combo setup. Okay. Other utilities I like to use, Infiltrator Signet, because it's like having a second steel. Except it doesn't give you all the buffs that steel. It doesn't do everything steel does, but it's another way that you can land Cloak and Dagger from a distance. Okay. It works the same way that steel does. Okay. Except it has a little bit shorter range, but it's also a stun breaker. Okay, so you can use that as a stun breaker if you absolutely needed to. Another one I like to use is Shadow's Refuge. Okay, when you use it, it gives some healing. If you stay in the radius until it goes away, you gain a good amount of stealth, 10 seconds. Okay. You can use it on yourself, you can use it on your team. You see this guy here, he just happened to be nearby, and I put him in stealth as well. Okay, so you can use it for your team. You can use it to invisible stomp. You do your finisher on a downed opponent. You can stealth up first, walk up to them, and then do a stomp. Okay, many different things you can do with Shadow's Refuge. But if you do use it, I would suggest not. You can't use it in the middle of a team fight. Okay, or around people, because you can still be damaged while you're inside of it. So I would suggest either porting away with short bow and then using it, or shadow step away and then use it. Okay. Let's see, what else do I like to use? Blinding Powder. Blinding Powder is very good. They just, with this recent patch, they made it so that it's also a stun breaker. So that's awesome, right? It's a stun breaker. It gives you stability for 1 second. It blinds nearby enemy players. Okay, and you can also use this to stealth your allies and put a smoke bomb blindness around them too. See, so I'll do it to this guy. Boom. Okay, so that's also a good utility. Let's see. Other than that, I don't really run much else, personally, but this is all You can play around with the utilities however you like, but I highly recommend always keeping Withdraw, Shadow Step, and Basilisk Venom. Okay, and then the other two is really up to you. Unless you want to play my one-shot build, then you play Signet of Shadows and then Assassin Signet. Okay, let's look at the Sigils. Oh yeah, and then the Marauder Amulet. Like, if you're new to playing Thief, Marauder Amulet is the best thing to use because it gives you everything you need, right? Power, precision, vitality is the more important one, and ferocity. Because if you're new, I would highly suggest Marauder Amulet because you're a little bit of more health here. But if you try to go like way more offensive with like Assassin's Amulet or Berserker, you'll have a lot more damage output, but your health pool will be very, very low. So, and as a thief, unless you're very good and you're very comfortable with it, I wouldn't suggest running it. But if you're good, you're not watching. If you're a good thief, you're not watching this video, so you already know that. Let's see. So Marauder Amulet. Okay, so Sigils. What I use all the time: Sigil of Opportunity and Sigil of Exploitation. Okay, because Sigil of Opportunity deals 5% extra damage to movement impaired foes. Movement impaired, right? So if I throw a Dancing Dagger at them, they're crippled. Their movement is impaired. I'm dealing more damage to them, right? When I hit my Evasive Venom on them, okay, their movement is impaired. I'm dealing more damage to them, okay, which is all the time. So this is very good for that backstab burst, okay. And then also Sigil of Exploitation, deal 5% extra damage to targets below 50% health. Okay, that's pretty straightforward there. In your offhand, you always be wanting using short bow. Okay, and then with short bow, you're not using it for fighting mainly. Okay, sure, you can deal damage with it from the side, but that's not the main reason why you're using short bow. You're using short bow to kite out and move around the map and wait for your burst cooldowns, so that you can switch back to Dagger Dagger and then do your combo, right? So for the Sigils, Sigil of Cleansing removes a condition when you swap to this weapon while in combat. Okay, very useful, cause yeah. And then Sigil of Energy, gain 25% of your endurance when you swap to this weapon while in combat. So endurance, refills another one of your dash dodges. Okay, not fully, you won't get a whole stack right here, but as long as you haven't used all of your endurance, you'll gain some back, and then you can do an additional dash. Okay. So yeah. Okay, so now I'm gonna give an example of the hit and run playstyle of Thief. Okay. So basically, you're gonna be in Dagger Dagger. You're gonna go in, do your steal, backstab, combo, and then switch to your short bow, and wait out cooldowns until you can do it again. Okay, so basically, Bassy, right? Steal, cloak and dagger, steal, backstab. You do your little combo. Maybe you can do an evade, and then you get out, switch to your short bow. You can deal damage, from further away if it's safe, right? And you're basically just waiting out cooldowns until your everything is up again. Then you can go back in. Okay. If it's safe to stay in, then by all means stay in Dagger Dagger and keep fighting, right? But as soon as things go south, then you swap weapons and get the hell out of there, right? All right, now I'm gonna show you the cool things you can do with Shadow Step. Okay, the main one being Shadow Step Stomp. Okay, so let's say your opponent is already down and you want to do your finisher on them. You can use Shadow Step you start the channel of your stomp, and then you Shadow Step away, and right when it's about to go down, you port back and you stomp them. Okay. Oh, and I also recommend, since you're using since you have Cloak and Dagger, when you are gonna stomp an opponent, you always want to go back into stealth to do it. Okay. So that you're untargetable. Okay, you're less likely to be interrupted when you're downing an opponent. Okay, so I'll show it to you here. Another way to use Shadow Step is if you have conditions on you and you want to cure them. I would just use it, but you don't have to do any distance with it. You can just use it, you know, right in place, just to cure some conditions real quick. And then, as a last resort, you can use Shadow Step to land Cloak and Daggers. Let's say your steel is on cooldown. You don't have your Infiltrator Signet if you're choosing to use it. Okay, and you absolutely have to land a Cloak and Dagger to gain stealth on your opponent, as a last resort. Okay, like you can't run away. There's no sneaky places where you can Shadow Step port to get away from the fight, and you have to use it. Then you can Shadow Step and Cloak and Dagger. Okay, this one takes a little bit of practice because you actually have to aim this. And you have to do it quickly before your Cloak and Dagger runs out, right? So you can Cloak and Dagger, Shadow Step. Okay? And then port back if you have to. Okay, so another trick with Shadow Step is if you want to land a Cloak and Dagger backstab on an enemy who is got some distance from you, you can land one from very far away. Okay, and then especially if you want to use Infiltrator Signet, you can do it from even further. Okay, if I wanted to use Shadow Step, I could probably do it from like about here. So I'll Shadow Step around this area here, and then I'll use Steel to get the rest of the distance over there. Okay, but with Infiltrator Signet, you can do it from even further. So I'll try and do it from way back here. Okay, so let's say this is an enemy player. He thinks he's safe. He's like way over here. But you can still land a backstab on him from this distance if you choose to do so. Okay, so hopefully I get this in the first try. Okay. Alright, kind of like that. And then you can always port back if you choose to. Okay, and then lastly, another tip with Shadow Step is you can use it to do some pretty outrageous jukes, okay? Because, you know, it's the same with Short Bow 5. You can use it to get onto platforms as long as there's a valid path to the target, right? Let me try here. What the heck? This recent patch, they kind of fixed some of these, but see, I was able to do it there. Usually you're able to do it, you know, on any section of this bridge here. But yeah, most platforms in PvP maps where, you know, you have to go up some stairs or something, you don't have to do that with Thief. Okay, because you can just use Short Bow and then just get right up there. Okay, like that. It's the same with Shadow Step. Okay, so let's say you're trying to juke out an opponent. If they have the ability, if you don't have time to swap weapons, or you're out of initiative and you can't do Short Bow, then you can use Shadow Step. Okay, and see, like that. And then if you choose to, you can also return to your original location. Okay, so there you have it. I think I covered pretty much everything I wanted to talk about in this guide. If you guys have any more questions, please leave a comment down below. And if you enjoyed this video and it helped you out at all, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. That would be greatly appreciated. Thanks, guys. Have a good one. Good luck.